On the Develop Yourself podcast, I have a very special guest, former Bootcamp grad, current software engineer, Tom Winskell. Welcome to the show.
Hey, very
Hey,
pleased to be here.
I'm excited, man. So, Tom went to Parsity, graduated, got himself a job, and I'm really curious to talk to you about today about what that's like. Because right now, especially if you're coming either out of college or a boot camp, you're pretty much inundated with nonstop bad news. And I don't like want to make it seem like, oh, it's easy. If you just do this 1-2 step process, you're going to get hired. But I want to know like what it was like for you, because in my opinion, if there's a prototype of a person that I'd want to copy from, it probably would be you and a few other people that I see have success at Parsity. And I see you tend to fall into a few categories of people. So if you wanted to start off with like what led you to get into software and what was your life like pre-coding?
Yeah, I think it's interesting what you said there as well. I there's a lot of bad news out there.
Yeah,
But that feels like the nature of social media. They're looking for clicks.
this is true too. Yeah.
So yeah, interesting. Yeah, I was a teacher, and I did a bunch of other things as well. I
Okay.
switched careers a few times, and I think my life. I wasn't super happy with how my life was before. I was pretty
Oh, okay.
overwhelmed teaching. I, the kids I was working with were difficult at times, and so I
Yeah.
was emotionally exhausted all the
Hmm.
time. It took a lot of effort to like go to work and also then come home and be present
Hmm.
with my family. So I really wanted a change, and software development was something I was just kind of interested in. I'd had some experience building websites for people, nothing crazy, and
Hmm.
I was like, oh, let's try this out. Let's see if it's interesting to me. So I did some part-time courses. I,
Hmm.
followed the regular like online tutorials like Udemy,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
did Harvard CS 50, like their intro to computer science, which was
Yep.
actually very good. I mean,
It's
there's
amazing. It's free. It's kind of crazy, right?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and breaks down concepts super well, like
Yeah.
good data structures and
Hmm.
algorithms introduction. And I was like, yeah, I'm sold. This is what I
Okay.
want to do. Like I
Oh
I
yeah.
I I enjoy working on my computer, problem solving.
Hmm.
Yeah, it was a challenge, a new challenge for me that didn't involve kind of battling emotional children. Other
Yeah,
people
I can imagine, dude. I can imagine.
other people's emotional children as well, right?
Yeah, it's one thing dealing with your own children, dealing with somebody else's kids. You're like, I don't know if I have the patience for this. Shout out to all the teachers out there. You are
Absolutely.
underpaid and under respected for sure. They all deserve much more respect. My father was a teacher for his whole life. Yeah,
Yeah. It,
rough job in many
it's
ways.
it's hard. Yeah, it's hard.
Tough, tough.
Yeah, I have a lot of respect for
Hell
teachers.
yeah. So you did all that. So you did the like initial work. So already I'm seeing patterns, and I don't want to discourage anybody. Teachers, musicians, military, overrepresented. From I've done like so many calls and chats like this with people, and for some reason, you guys and women, you guys and gals that are in these professions tend to be overrepresented in the successful category of boot camp grads. It's really interesting. And
Mm,
then you did some work on your own. You said, okay, I'm going to see if I actually like this. Say,
yep.
cool, I like it. Second good thing you did. And then you said, I'm going to go to a coding boot camp.
Yeah, yeah, I looked at so many.
Wow.
And I feel like it was really difficult because everybody wants your money, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. For sure. It's a business for sure. Yeah.
I think that's what felt different about Parse.
Mhm.
I don't think you ever gave. I don't think you ever give anybody the hard sell. Like I never got that from you. That it just was never your vibe. Your vibe was
No.
like I'm giving a bunch of stuff away for free because I just want to help people. And then like, hey, I also have all this expertise and I'm doing things a little bit differently. It's not the like I don't think you're running a huge machine where, well, I know you're not running a
I'm
huge
not
machine,
running a huge machine. Yeah, you're right.
right? Felt different to me. A lot of other boot camps where, hey, we're this machine, we're this huge big business, you're just a
Hmm.
number to us. We're sure we're going to give you a mentor, and sure we have this curriculum, and we work with, I don't know, like they drop names, Shopify, whatever, you know.
Yeah, dubious claims at best. Yeah,
Yeah, and it was, and you start to like dig into some of those reviews, and you kind of start to see cracks. And so anyway, I kind of stumbled. I don't remember how I stumbled across Parsity. I think you
that's
were
awesome.
doing an interview with someone. I think maybe
Oh,
someone
okay.
educative. It was an
Oh, yeah,
educative
yeah.
um
Love that platform.
newsletter or something.
Hmm.
You were talking with someone, and it felt different. It felt personal, like, you know.
Oh, that's
And
really cool, man. Yeah.
and I can say all those things were like all the things that I imagined ended up being true. It felt different. It felt, well, I say it felt different. I didn't do another boot camp. I did Parsity, and you know, we built things. It was practical. I had a
Hmm.
great I had a great mentor. You've always made yourself available to,
Hmm.
for a chat here and there. Like you've given me guidance. My mentor gave me great guidance. The the assignments and the practical projects felt kind of spot on. And then I think the thing also which you partially organized for me, which made a huge difference, was the that I did
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right.
for seven
Yeah.
months of my life.
Oh my God, that was a
I
big
think 7
internship.
months.
That was crazy. Yeah, I learned a lot of lessons from that. But I knew it would be helpful. But yeah, that was a lot. Man, I almost forgot about that. That was wild. But yeah, thank you so much for the kind words, by the way, too. I mean, that's like really cool to hear. And part of the compliment you give me is also a bit of the weakness of Parsity. Out in business, it is a bit difficult if you don't have hard selling skills. It's just
Yeah.
not the way I prefer to run a business, and it just hasn't been the way. So wow, thank you so much. I mean, that's really great stuff there. And I mean, I didn't pay Tom, I swear to God, to say any of this stuff. He just said this completely unprompted. But even more important, so the internship is one thing, because I think that obviously can be a big help. But at some point, you do all the work. You've done all the things. You've done steps A through B. You've made it past the course. Here's the hard part, and what people don't anticipate usually when they go to a coding boot camp. That piece between now I have the knowledge to now somebody's going to pay me money for that knowledge is really, really difficult. And this is where most people fail. So tell me a little bit about that process from, okay, now I know the stuff to now I have a job.
I mean, I don't know. I guess I want to say, like, hey, there was, this one thing that worked for me that led me to get the job. But being completely honest, it was someone I know got me the job. So
Yeah, that tends to be pretty normal too. How did you know this person? Like, yeah, walk us through a little bit of that.
a friend lives in the same town, and kind of knew that I was looking for, or I was changing careers. His company were looking for a software engineer. They were having, I feel like this is a fairly common story, but maybe not
Hmm.
something that the companies shout about. They were having trouble finding someone, which
Yeah, they
is
are.
so bizarre to me, because you send applications and applications, and you hear nothing. And I don't think it was through a lack of applicants. I think it was just like so much spam
Hmm.
and unsuitable applicants, because
Yeah.
there's all of these and
Hmm.
various other platforms where you can just like swipe right to apply for this job, swipe right, swipe right, swipe right, swipe right.
Yeah. If
And,
only it was that easy.
yeah, and so I think they were having trouble sorting through the applications. They were having trouble finding someone who they genuinely believed would fit in with their culture. They genuinely believed would, be more than just a technical expert, but actually like be able to convert their ideas of product and how
Hmm.
they run their business into software. And that was really hard to do through looking at resumes. And so
Yeah.
having a connection, yeah, they were, I think they felt more reassured that, when they hired through a connection, that they were
Of
actually going to
course.
get somebody who could do the job.
Yeah.
I know that I wasn't, because my boss has told me, I know that I wasn't the most technically proficient person.
Of course. Right. I mean, there can only be one, right? There can only be, if we were only hiring for technical proficiency, finding candidates would actually be much easier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Did I ever tell you the way I got hired, by the way? I think, I don't know if I've shared this
no,
publicly really
no.
before, but like, so you got hired and kind of the way I got hired. My first job was a dude that I used to work with in a warehouse. I was the guy that drove a van full of boxes to this warehouse. This dude ended up being an engineering manager years later. I'm talking about like years later. And then
Yeah.
I applied for that same company. He recognized my name and my face that I put on my resume or something, my portfolio at
Nice.
the time. He's like, I remember that guy. And he reached out and he said, that guy was always on time with that van, right? And it was between me and some other candidate that ended up having like a criminal record or something like
Yeah. Okay.
that. That
Nice.
candidate didn't get the job, obviously. And so they said, let's try this guy, Brian. And he's a cool dude. And I came in there. I was not very good technically, but yeah, I fit well. I could like, I kind of matched all the other requirements. It was for grocery outlet, which I was like a big fan of. And
Nice.
they liked that enough that they hired me. I talked to a lot of people like that. Like most jobs, not most, I don't know about most jobs, but a lot of jobs aren't on LinkedIn and people forget the power of your connections. Like I didn't know anybody in tech. I didn't think I did. And this dude from the warehouse like ended up being my connection in there. So I hope people don't feel discouraged when they hear that. But I think it's a good idea to at least look in your network
Yeah.
because a friend of a friend or a friend of a friend of a friend or that guy you used to work with at Pizza Hut when you were
Yeah.
16 might be in some nice position right now if you reached out and you could find what's going on or maybe get an inside scoop on the job. That's very cool. And what kind of stuff are you working on right now?
A whole bunch of different stuff. I mean, I'm the only software. Well, there is another contractor, but I'm the only
Hmm.
full time. I'm the only full time software engineer. So it's pretty vast. I think my
Hmm.
like portfolio. There's like several applications.
Super cool.
Well, it was JavaScript when I showed up.
Yeah.
I've converted and moved over to TypeScript.
Hell
So
yeah. Right on.
everything is TypeScript now. Express.js backend for
Okay.
an API, React
Yep.
on the front end,
Hmm.
CSS. What else is going on? AWS actually, which has
Yeah.
been kind of. I feel like AWS is something that's worth knowing.
Yep.
That's been,
I would agree.
and maybe that's just because I'm the only software engineer. We've transitioned some of our things to AWS, but the company was also already using AWS, so we've kind of
Every
moved
company's
transition.
already using AWS. It's like either using Google Cloud, maybe Azure, but AWS is like the lion's share of what all companies use. And you're right, it's great to become familiar with
Yeah,
it. So you're like truly a full stack developer. You're doing front end, back
yeah.
end, and the infrastructure layer as well.
And then there's some crazy like movement towards, like, we already use Databricks because we're
Yeah.
like a data company really. So
Oh,
you know
cool.
uh, we do have other technical professionals, but they're data scientists and data engineers. So they're running pipelines and
Hmm.
analysts using Databricks. So I'm starting to kind of we also get involved in that a little bit. Yeah, we use MongoDB as well.
Okay.
There's,
So a lot of like relevancy for what you learned within Parsity and probably what most
yeah,
boot camps teach. But how do you learn all this other stuff? Because you get in the job, there's not much guidance, which is not
yeah,
unusual. There's
yeah,
very little like formal mentorship at any company, and the reality is there's more developers that are working like you than at places like Google. There are like one or two developers on a small team, kind of just in charge of the whole thing. But how did you pick up all this stuff?
I mean, I feel like I don't know. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
if
Oh,
AI
uh-huh.
didn't exist, then I kind of think about that a lot. I think about like, oh, how would I have done my job if AI didn't exist? I mean, I use AI a lot for research. I use
Hmm.
AI a lot for like, hey, can you explain this to me? Or can you find, I find the principle like, hey, can you give me the resources for this and go read the resources that's found? Or can you give me a summary of this?
Hmm.
I kind of use it as, I guess in some ways, use it as a senior engineer to help me kind of, to help mentor me on some of these principles, and then, take that and try and implement and get it to work basically, like that back and
Yeah.
forth, and less of that, like, because I know folks are also using it for kind of a one shot wonder. Hey, do this
Oh
for
man.
me.
Yeah. That's
Do
no,
this
that's
for
that's
me.
that's no good.
Well,
I mean, you
yeah,
can do that for sure. Yeah, I mean, it's okay to one. I mean, I guess it depends on on what we call one shot. Because like if it's literally like just build this application, then I'm gonna go take lunch. I'm like,
yeah,
that might be kind of scary.
yeah,
Build this feature, this component, or this script. I'm like, not, you know.
yeah. Well, and it's I think it's been good for me to not use it so much on that one shot, but to like keep it on a short leash
Hmm.
and to use it more for research and analysis and summaries because then I'm learning alongside it. I feel like if it didn't exist, I would have spent a lot more time reading and looking
Yeah.
for things, which, that's probably how it was in the past, where I would have taken me twice as long to find the things I would have wanted, or scrolling through Stack Overflow, which I
Stack.
don't
Yeah,
know,
exactly.
or Reddit to
Hmm.
find the answer. AI's already kind of distilled a lot of those places into
Yeah.
manageable chunks and
Oh man.
so
That's
it's
funny.
huge.
That brings back memories of like doing that exact same thing, like spending sometimes days like going through Stack Overflow and GitHub
Yeah.
comments or like even reaching out to library maintainers. I mean, sometimes you have such a gnarly bug, you're like, I gotta find a person that works for this random thing and send an email to figure something out. Now you're right, it's all been kind of done for us. It is great. It's a super fast version, a lightning fast version of that same process that we used to follow. It is true. Like you could still do it. Like we were still building the same things. It just would take a
Yeah.
lot longer to figure out, oh, was this the right thing? Now you can speed run your way towards failure or success
Yeah.
using these tools. And you came into this in an interesting time because you were learning really without the help of AI tools, right? Like when you were first learning to
Yeah.
code, they weren't like as prevalent, right?
Yeah, it was hugely different when I did the internship, and
Yeah.
I feel like actually when I started the internship, which was like probably 2 years ago, maybe a little bit less at
Hmm.
this point,
Yeah.
the AI tools were really in their infancy. They did
Yeah.
exist, but they weren't as anywhere near as capable. And so I kind of remember doing research or trying to solve bugs, but it was a lot of back and forth, and it was more
Hmm.
browser oriented, and there was still reading documentation because the context wasn't quite right, it wasn't up to
Right.
date. And then CS50 before that, like before I guess Parsity, it didn't lean on AI so much. It was more documentation. CS50 had their own AI, but it was still there were still forums. I remember looking
Hmm.
in forums for things. So yeah, it definitely feels different now. It feels like things have moved very quickly, and
It's
it's
crazy.
so much more
Yeah.
capable than it was.
Oh, 100, yeah, 100%. In hindsight now, and I'm curious what you think about this because you're in that stage where you've kind of seen the shift in real time, really early in your career. Somebody now saying, "Hey, I want to learn how to code." Just genuinely, do you think like they should learn to code, or they just learn how to use the AI tools, or some combination? Or yeah, what's your take on that?
Feel like that's a really difficult question.
Oh, I mean, I
Yeah,
think about it all the time. I still think about it
I do
myself. I'm like,
too.
I don't know. I really don't.
Yeah. I Part of me wonders. I feel like there's always going to be software engineers. I
Oh
kind
yeah.
of I kind of reflect on like, oh, 2 years ago, or Elon Musk or whoever was saying, or all of the AI companies were saying, oh, we're not going to have software engineers. We've
Six more
solved.
months. Just 6 months.
Right. And then we still have software engineers, and you read forum posts on Reddit, and some people are saying, I've managed to get 10x, my gains are 10x, and then other people are saying my gains are closer to 10%, and then other folks
Yeah.
are saying I have bugs all the time that AI is introducing, and it's AI slop on top of AI slop, and so
Hmm.
I'm going back and fixing all of these things that have been introduced, maybe introduced by our own software engineers.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
Um,
it's hard to know who's like doing the writing. I mean, I'm not writing code anymore either. But yeah, it's like it's hard to get like a real good read on the reality. I'm like, I tend to trust my own experiences. I'm like, okay, I can't really trust what's online because everybody seems to have an agenda, and
yeah,
there's so much money, just trillions of dollars now at this point, like behind these companies. So they'll say and do almost anything, it seems like, to tell you what they want you to hear. Then you use the tools. You're like, this is amazing, but like if you don't know what you're doing, you don't know what you're doing. So I don't see a world in which like a casual user just like vibe codes a complex web application or even something that's not so complex that would be
yeah,
safe to use.
Yeah.
But I just don't know like how much syntax you need to memorize at all at this point either. I really don't know about that part.
No, yeah, and I think you're right. It's it's funny too because I also speak. I was speaking to someone the other day who was saying,
Hmm.
"Well, companies are still looking for software engineers to do coding tests, like technical
Yeah.
and technical interviews and
Hmm.
data structures and algorithms." But those things are things you can learn through just doing like repeated exercises. So
Yeah.
they're not necessarily based on reality because the
It's really
reality
weird.
is, yeah, I don't need to memorize React syntax. I can have Claude produce that for me, and actually there I'm spending more time, I don't know, scoping things, planning things, figuring out how this system interacts with that one, and the product scope that my
Hmm.
product manager is coming up with, how I convert that into code in a way that's maintainable and a way that's going to be, going to work in production. At the same time, I also guess I like to know what's going on with my code so that when
Yeah.
my product manager comes and says, "Hey, we have this bug," I can be like,
Hmm.
"Oh, I'm pretty sure I know what that is." Like I don't have to spend
Yeah.
a bunch of time trying to figure out where that bug is coming from. So
Yep.
I don't know. I guess there's like a fine line that I try to walk. That's pretty hard to figure out where that line is. But
I'm glad you said that because I feel the same way, and I've had a few embarrassing mishaps recently where I was leaning completely on AI to code some stuff, and then the lead engineer was like, "Hey, how does this work? This seems really complex," and I was like, "I don't know," right? I had to just like, I honestly don't really
yeah,
get how this works either, and I'm like, he's like, "Well, like let's refactor this and make it really simple."
yeah,
And we did it old school, and we still use AI to like actually come up with the code, but we just went back to like, okay, what do we really need to do here, and like how can
yeah,
we make this simple? And then the other thing is that like sometimes the syntax thing, I'm like, oh, it's not important, and I'm writing Rails, a lot of Rails code
yeah,
recently, and I'm not really familiar with Rails. And then some like lead person that really knows Rails deeply will get into a peer review and they'll say, oh yeah, don't do this. This is going to create like n+1 queries or whatever. And I'm
okay,
thinking, damn,
yeah,
you knew that, and I'm sure a test could have caught that, or maybe me if I had been a little more thorough. But like all the tools we're all using the top line models. We have AI
yeah,
review. We also have human review, and the humans are catching the things that either the AI is not catching or that I would never have known that would have caused pretty interesting, hard to catch errors. It is a very strange time. I'm like, I have no clue, but I know that this much, like the tools are here to stay. I think for maybe I don't even know if they're here to stay, but I'm using them a ton. I mean, are you even
yeah.
writing code anymore, or are you just using AI tools to basically construct what you're thinking and doing the planning and scoping and saying, okay, Claude, Cursor, whatever, here you're going to actually write the code, or are you hands on keyboard still typing code out?
It depends what it is. I think
Okay, yeah.
I probably maybe not 50-50, maybe like 60% I, and then 40%. Sometimes I'm just like, I kind of want to write this for fun.
Yeah, it's fun. It is fun, right? Like I like writing code too. I do lead code for fun sometimes, but yeah, I'm glad you said that. Like, why not? Why not just write it? Yeah.
I feel like there's this weird, I don't, maybe it's like self-induced where I am, but I think there's this, what's that, conflict. I guess it's a conflict
Hmm.
between, we believe that we need to go faster because we have the AI tools, or maybe in
Hmm.
some situations the company is forcing us to go faster. But then sometimes it's nice to slow down and take the time to, I don't know, just spend a little bit more time with the code because it's fun,
I
because it's
I feel
fun
you.
to be
Yeah,
deep
that's
in
kind
the
of what we got
code.
into it, right? We got into this profession to do that. I mean, why ruin some of the fun? I mean, we're still gonna get the work done. It
Yeah,
doesn't have to be done like. I mean, the reality is there's only so much work you can do in a day.
yeah,
There's only so many good ideas you can execute
yeah,
on. Speed at the cost of everything is a losing game to me. It's
yeah.
like, yeah, like you could write this as fast as humanly possible, or you could slow down a little bit and just get it done on your time, right? I appreciate that view. I want to switch gears a little bit too, because I know that the main thing people are curious about typically when I speak to them are about job stuff. It's always about job stuff, right? They're curious about what the job is like,
Yeah.
and I think we've dug into that a little bit. But hindsight's 2020, and if you could look back and think, what would you have done differently if you were starting the job search again after graduating a coding boot camp?
I there's things I still want to there's things I want to do differently right now. and
Hmm.
I think it's applicable for, starting the job search again. Networking, I like think that has to be the number one thing. I feel like making sure everybody in your own network, whether it's, going back to our conversation earlier, whether it's your neighbor, your friend, like someone you knew 5 years ago,
Hmm.
just making sure everybody knows that this is what you're doing and why you're doing it, and that you're looking for a job, because you never know who might
Right.
put your name into the throw your name into the ring. I just think that has to be what you have to do, and spending a lot of time trying to reach out to people, because I feel like, I don't know, 80% of the messages you send to people, maybe even 90% of the messages you send to people, you're going to get no response from, and
Yeah.
you need those hits. So even if you're networking, you still have to go for volume, I think, a little bit.
Yeah.
Um,
Totally. Totally.
which is pretty tough. I think it was one of your other podcasts that I remember listening to, and I can't remember who it was, because I know someone who's looking for jobs, and they're making applications and they're being rejected, and they're kind of feeling down about that, which I
Hmm.
think is natural. But I think you have to remember that there's also a whole bunch of other people out there that are making applications and being rejected,
Yeah.
and so, like, for every one person who gets a job, there's probably like 12 other people who are also being rejected. And so, like, but there are people who are getting jobs, and so you just kind
Hmm.
of have to, like, keep at it. You can't give up. You have to kind of stay strong. And I think the guy I listened to was saying, you kind of have to have like a military attitude to it. Like, you
Mm.
have to just, like, keep going and
Embrace the
ignore,
suck. Yeah.
yeah, embrace the fact that it's gonna suck and you're gonna get rejections. You just have to keep going. And I feel like that's where the people who succeed are maybe very lucky. I don't know if I really had a lot of suck involved in getting a job,
Mm.
but I think the people who did get jobs really embraced that and just looked for every avenue possible. I have someone in mind who did that. Like, they looked for every avenue possible. They, like, tried any possible small
Hmm.
string, small thread that they could follow. They followed, and eventually, like, one of those threads just paid off, because
It's
it's
really
hard.
hard.
It's hard for
It's
everybody.
super
Yeah,
hard.
yeah,
Humans are terrible at rejection,
yeah,
myself included. And I remember just my confidence just breaking with every rejection
yeah,
when I was going from junior to mid level specifically. I go into junior, I was aware of the fact I'd be rejected. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have to get a little lucky for the first job. I kind of understood that even back in like whatever 2013 or 15, whatever it was. I'm like, I'm gonna have to get a little luck on my side. And I realized that rejection was part of the game. But we hate rejection in
yeah,
general. Like, humans are just terrible at this. And setting your mindset to be like, okay, like I'm gonna have to. This is not gonna be easy. I'm gonna get mostly no's, like 90% no's, until somebody says yes. And I just kind of need that one yes in
yeah.
order to get to that next level. And if you haven't been on the job market for a while, you're probably not used to this. I do talk to friends and family, and they're not used to applying to like 100 places at all. I think software engineers, especially those of us that are career changers, understand that this is a very difficult game. My mom actually tried to apply at Starbucks to get a job, and she like worked at a bank, got high up there at Wells Fargo back in the day. She worked there for like 30 years, got some fancy title, and then she's in retirement. So, well, I just want some extra money. Goes to Starbucks, thinks I'm gonna be a shoo-in. They're like, no, nope, sorry, you don't have any experience as a barista. And so they don't care that you worked for 30 years at a bank. They're like, I don't care what you did. It's like me trying to become like a
Yeah.
marketer, right? I could be like, well, I have a bunch of years of software engineer. I could totally run a marketing organization. Like, no, you can't. You don't know anything. You know less than a college kid about this that went to like, got a degree. So I think that's the kind of mindset you have to have, that you are coming in as an outsider. People are distrustful. And only after you get some validation of a couple years or so, then it'll get easier. But even then, it doesn't get easy; it just gets easier. So it's a hard thing to develop.
It's so funny as well, because, yeah, I mean, like, I don't think any software engineer who is a career changer, maybe I'm wrong, got the job because they had life experience, or they had, like, experience from a previous career. But the funny thing is, I feel like that experience is so valuable
Oh,
to a
100%.
company.
Yeah.
Like, the things that make me good at what I'm doing right now are not necessarily that I'm the most technically proficient software engineer. I,
Hmm.
I'm pretty good at software engineering. I think
Well, I know
I
you
will
are because I've seen
say,
your work.
like,
You're actually really good. Like, don't downplay yourself. You're really good at what you do.
but what also makes me, I think, effective is the fact that I'm organized. I can write tickets and prioritize stuff, and I can conceptualize, what does this product need to do, and therefore like change those, product scope criteria into code. It's like, and those things I think come from the fact that I have a little bit of life experience, and I have a little bit of experience in other careers that have given me skills beyond just being able to write code. So
Hmm.
I, I guess I also think that someone who's a career changer probably should feel some confidence in the fact that once they get to that first job, they may find themselves actually like a shoe in, like, perhaps
Hmm.
be able to really like leverage and lean on some of those skills from previous jobs, and actually like maybe move up a little bit faster, maybe feel comfortable a little bit quicker, maybe
Yeah.
maybe see themselves, on a different level than some of their peers.
Oh
That
man, that's a really good one because the acceleration thing is I see this consistently with people that have some years behind them in their career and they've like already maybe kind of reached the midway point of some other career and they switched. And a lot of people look at this as like, oh, I'm too old or whatever. And I'm like, I get people are biased and stuff, but I'm like, that's just like that's the least thing and that's the farthest thing in my mind. I'm thinking once you get in there, one, you actually have bias work for you in a different way. Because if you are older, which I was too, people look at you like maybe you know more, and you tend to know more because you have
Mhm.
more life experience. So you're absolutely right. Like, you can accelerate quicker than maybe a 19-year-old.
Yeah.
And I've seen this happen the opposite way. So your age can
Yeah.
actually, bias works both ways, right? Like
Yeah.
I'm sure there's people biased saying, oh, we don't want, a guy that's over 25 working here. But also a lot of people's like, do I trust a 19-year-old with our AWS infrastructure? I don't know
Yeah.
about this. Yeah, that's a good insight right there for sure. Because I think there's some big misconceptions people have about getting a job, and I think we've tackled a few of those. But a lot of people look for these shortcuts to getting a job, and I just want to go through a couple with you to see if you've fallen into these rabbit holes. Getting certifications. Has anybody ever asked you for a certification? Did you ever consider getting a certification?
No
No.
one's no
Okay.
one's ever asked me. Yeah.
Okay,
I don't.
that I've honestly never heard of anybody really being asked. I think it's interesting because this is one of those tales that just doesn't seem to die. These myths that just seem to perpetuate every year. I'm just shocked that people still do this. What about a college degree? You have a college degree, obviously. It's not in computer science. Did anybody ever ask you for like, oh, do you have a computer science degree or want to know about your degree?
No, I do wonder sometimes if I get screened out jobs, being completely honest, because there are, but I don't know, is it 50% of jobs I see that have, BSc listed? It's not 100%. I don't think of job requirement. And
Absolutely
so
not.
yeah, and yeah, certainly for this job that I currently have, they weren't interested in a computer science degree. So I don't think it's a hard requirement. It doesn't seem so
I
anyway
feel,
to me.
I feel like it's less and less of a requirement, but I see a lot of people also trying to take that path, and I get it. People are looking for the thing, and from talking with you and talking with many people, I think hopefully the takeaway is that there is not some path. There's nothing that me or Tom can tell
Yeah.
you to like learn this particular skill or learn this thing or even go to Parsity. It's not like there's no guarantee here. I really do believe it's a combination of can you do the thing? Do you have enough competency in the skill? And then do you have a high enough threshold for failure and rejection to last through all that
Yeah.
to get to the job? Between graduating and getting that first job, how many months was that?
It wasn't very long. It was a few weeks. I think I was, lucky.
Holy
So
moly. That's nuts. I mean, it happens though too. People, there's no
I was
no one
lucky.
size fits all, right? I mean, hey, we're all lucky. Everybody has some amount of. I talked to a dude that took 4 years,
Yeah.
and his salary's like gone crazy since then. But anyway, it's not all about money, but of course, it's a bit about money. Not mentioning money or anything or whatever you're comfortable mentioning. I'm just curious, how has your life changed whether it's time or stress or whatever. What's it like now compared to what it was like as a teacher?
I mean, I feel like it's interesting. I think this job is pretty relaxed. I appreciate that about this company, that they give me a lot of independence, and it's, if you get the job done, if you get the work done, then we're happy for you to do that. You get the work done. So I
Yeah.
have, as a teacher, I didn't have any flexibility. I had to be at school at
Mm,
8 a.m. and then I left at 3 p.m. Maybe didn't leave at 3 p.m., but left at 3 p.m. and did some more work at home. But the hours were set. Whereas, I have flexibility in my day, which is super
hmm.
nice, especially with a kid. I
Oh
can
my God. Yeah.
I can maybe on a couple of days finish at 4 and then start again at 6 and do another hour of work, or some days start a little bit later and work a little bit later. Like
Hmm.
I have flexibility to do that, and that's super nice.
Oh yeah.
I'm 100% remote too, so it's
Oh,
it's super nice. Sometimes I think it would be nice to go to the office too.
there's pros and cons. Yeah, it's pros and cons to all things, but when you have a newborn, I think there's more pros to being fully remote. You do get to be around for those really intense and formative years, and all the big memories that you kind of want to be around as a
Hmm.
father. So that's
Yeah,
super cool.
yeah, it's nice. I
Amazing.
don't have to commute either, which I love that. Like
Yeah.
I mean, as a teacher, I commuted 15 minutes. The school was down the road, but still, you know, it's super nice to be remote, and there's value to that, you
Hmm.
can't, you can't define, or you can't. I sometimes think about, like, oh, maybe I could go work in the town, go work in the city. Montreal, like, is an hour away, and I could go work in the city and probably earn a bit
Yeah.
more money than I do right now.
Yep.
I
Hmm.
think remote roles maybe command a little bit less money because, they
Yep.
kind of
For
know
sure.
that they're in demand.
Hmm.
But there's value, like, there's super value to being in my house all the time.
Yeah.
You know, so that's hugely different, and I love that. I would also say as well, like, I do earn what I would have earned as a teacher after like 15 years or something like that. So it's in, I'm already at the
Oh
place I would have
man.
been by working like another 4 or 5 years as a teacher. So that
Wow.
that's a huge difference as well. I don't get the
Yeah.
summer off, but
This is yeah, this is true. That's I mean that's awesome to hear. I love hearing stories like that, and I don't ever discount the money because I'm like, man, I remember what it was like really struggling with money,
yeah,
and then I know what it's like to not think about money too much, and it frees things up. I do remember like counting money to go to the gas station and like trying to figure out like, am I gonna I got to budget my gas money and figure out what I'm gonna do this week and just really be conscious of how much money was in the account all the time. And that, not to maybe humble brag or whatever, but that's not a thing I have thought about for a while, luckily. And because in tech, especially if you come from a background where you're not used to making that much money, the bump in pay can be significant enough that you're like, okay, I don't need to chase some crazy title. I'm actually fine with where I'm at right here. You don't need to go to like Fang or Google or whatever to get the kind of income that's meaningfully life changing for most of us out there.
well, and I think there's value in working for a smaller company too, because
Yeah.
the pressure, I
Hmm.
the internship that I did for a few months, there was a fair amount of pressure there to, like, get
Yeah.
things built and get things pushed, and
Hmm.
I don't have that so much here. It actually comes more from, like, me internally than it does from the company
That's
sometimes.
awesome. That's awesome. Yeah.
And so, like, I can choose to go fast, and sometimes I choose to go fast, and sometimes I choose to go a little bit slower, depending on,
Yeah.
how I'm feeling, or, sometimes needs of the company or the needs of the business. But
Hmm.
it's definitely a lot more relaxed, and I appreciate that. Again, that's like a
Oh man.
quality of life thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. Man, you're one sounds like a great company. That's awesome. Because I don't want to have it all roses and candy canes. Like there's certainly companies like that, and you work long enough, and you'll be at a few companies where it's not like that. You experience that
Yeah.
in an internship, which is a good, I think, valuable experience to say, okay, here's kind of one end of the spectrum looks like, and here's what another looks like. But the flexibility I've noticed at basically all companies, whether the culture is very intense or whether it is more relaxed, you often are judged more about what you can deliver rather than did you put in some random amount of hours. Like I work 12 hours some days I might work 4 hours. It just depends on what I'm doing, and I'm sure you're having the same experience. Man, it's been amazing talking to you. Is there anything else that you want to share or say to people out there that you think might be helpful or that you think would have helped you to hear if you were at the stage of either looking for a job or in the stages of learning, whatever you think would be useful or valuable to your former self?
I think I still tell myself to do this is to like stay off social media and stay out of my head. I
Yeah.
I kind of think of LinkedIn. It's so hard because you have to spend time on LinkedIn, but
Yeah.
it's like I think of Instagram is a place. I don't know if I should say things like this, but
Say it.
you know Instagram is a place that you would go to feel bad about your either your lifestyle or your body, and especially if you're a girl, right? Like if you're a
Oh, for
young girl,
sure.
like Instagram is somewhere
Yeah.
where you go to feel bad about your body, and I think
Hmm.
LinkedIn is somewhere you potentially would go and feel bad about your career, or like
Or
bad
Twitter.
about what you're not achieving or what you're not doing. It's
Yeah.
like Instagram for professionals. And so,
Hmm.
you know, I think you have to take what you see with a pinch of salt. Take what you see and don't believe
Yeah.
everything you see, and just kind of like try to block that stuff out, but then like use LinkedIn for the benefit you can get from it, but don't, buy too much into some of the things that you see, because maybe it's not 100% true. The things that people say
Maybe
are
it's
maybe not.
0% true. Yeah. Maybe it's, I've met some people.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, I've met some people with some bigger followings than I got, and they are not what they claim to be. It really shocked me, and I do think it taught me to be a lot more cautious of whose information I'm taking, and not just to believe somebody because they have a high follower count, including me. I mean, no filter on there. It's very easy to fake a persona and do all
Yeah.
sorts of stuff. So I like that advice a lot. It's a platform that I have a love hate relationship with. Let me tell you
Yeah.
that. But
Yeah. Yeah.
excellent advice.
It's hard though. I can't even say, I go there and start browsing my feed, and you're like, oh, okay,
Right?
I gotta stop. I gotta stop.
Yeah, I that might be some of the most underrated advice I've heard for a while, especially nowadays when it was inundated with this crazy stuff. And like then you go out in the real world and you're like, wait a second, it's not really people aren't doing all this weird stuff. Yeah, I like that a lot. People get off of social media. Stop looking at it so much to try to influence your career decisions. These decisions which are sticky and actually have change could result in change in your life. Maybe get off there, touch grass, talk to people, and try to make your decisions in perhaps a way that doesn't involve listening to whoever has the loudest mic in the social media platform you're on.
I think that, not offer you more praise, Brian, but like, I think that's what I like about what you do is it feels human. I think
Appreciate
it's like
that.
obviously human, like kind of raw at times. Like you speak to a lot of different people, and you do it in a way that's human, and that's like I appreciate that. So
Hey, I appreciate you, man. Thank you for saying that. I mean, I'm trying. I'm actually a robot. I didn't want to admit this on camera.
eventually AI.
This is all AI.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Tom. I really appreciate you taking time. I feel like this could have been a lot longer. I might need to have you back again because I really enjoyed this conversation, and I hope other people got a lot of value out of this as well.
Yeah, I hope so. I'm also just a regular guy trying to do human things.
I mean, that's what people need to hear, man. So I appreciate it, and I'm glad to get your story out here. And yeah, thanks again.
Yeah, thanks for chatting with me. Thanks. It was fun.